Good morning, everyone. I am your presenter for today. My name is Rohan Ranara, and today we will talk about one of the most effective and most used models, the Porter's five forces of analysis. So first, let us have a brief introduction about these five forces. So these five forces was devised by Michael Porter, and this model was initially created in 1979, around 40 years ago, and is still used in our modern day. So the Porter's five forces model identified five main sources of competition, namely the competition, the new entrants, the bargaining power of buyers, the bargaining power of suppliers, and the substitutes. The five forces model was developed by Michael E. Porter to help companies assess the nature of an industry's competitiveness and develop corporate strategies accordingly. The strength of the five forces will determine the level of profit within an industry that a competitor can expect to make. Through his model, Porter classifies five main competitive forces that affect any market and all industries. It is these forces that determine how much competition will exist in a market and consequently the profitability and attractiveness of this market for a company. Through sound corporate strategies, a company will aim to shape these forces to its advantage to strengthen the organization's position in the industry. This model also aimed to provide a new way to use effective strategy to identify, analyze, and manage external factors in an organization's environment. Porter's five forces model is an analysis tool that uses five industry forces to determine the intensity of competition in an industry and its profitability level. An attractive marketplace does not mean that all companies will enjoy similar success levels. Rather, the unique selling propositions, strategies, and processes will put one company over the other. The five forces were Porter's conclusions on the reasons for differing levels of competition and hence profitability in differing industries. They are empirically derived by observation of real companies in real markets rather than the result of economic analysis. So here is an illustration of Porter's five forces. These forces is a simple but powerful tool for understanding the competitiveness of a business environment and for identifying a strategy's potential profitability. According to Porter, these five forces are the key sources of competitive pressure within an industry. He stressed that it is important not to confuse them with more fleeting factors that might grab our attention, such as industry growth rates, the government interventions, and technological innovations. These are temporary factors, while the five forces are permanent parts of an industry's structure. For better understanding, please watch this video.
Most people think of business competition as a tug of war between rivals, with each competing for more sales or market share. But according to Harvard Business School professor Michael Porter, competition is more complex than that. It's not about who's the biggest. It's about who is the most profitable. And profitability is defined by five competitive forces. Let's start with your buyers, or customers, who would always be happier to pay less and get more. In the airline industry, price competition is fierce because so many travelers just want the cheapest flight. Then There are your suppliers, who'd ideally like to be paid more and deliver less. Powerful suppliers will use their clout to raise prices or insist on other more favorable terms. A third source of competition comes from substitute products or services that meet the same basic need you do. These aren't always obvious rivals. The toughest competitors may come from different industries. New entrants can also create tension. For instance, Southwest Airlines challenged the industry by flying just one kind of airplane, reducing costs and allowing it to offer better ticket deals. This pushed other carriers to spend more to retain their customers. Finally, you still have to fight your existing rivals, and intense competition reduces everyone's profitability. The major airlines have been in this position for years, forcing them to defend increasingly narrow profit margins, with fees for exit row upgrades, checked bags, even snacks. These five forces define every industry structure and shape your company's future. Once you understand them, you can make better predictions, create more competitive strategies, and increase your profits.
Porter recognized that organizations likely keep a close watch on their rivals, but he encouraged them to look beyond the actions of their competitors and examine what other factors could impact the business environment. He identified the five forces that make up the competitive environment and which can erode profitability. So, first is the competitive rivalry. This is actually obvious. This looks at the number and strength of your competitors. How many rivals do you have? How strong they are? What have they in common and how they differ to one another? It mainly focuses on the rivals and how their customers perceive them and how the marketplace deals with them. When rivalry is intense, companies can attract customers with aggressive price cuts and high impact marketing campaigns. Also, in markets with lots of rivals, your suppliers and buyers can go elsewhere if they feel that they're not getting a good deal from you. On the other hand, where competitive rivalry is minimal and no one else is doing what you do, then you likely have tremendous strength and healthy profits. So next is the supplier power or the bargaining power of supplier. This is determined by how easy it is for your suppliers to increase their prices. How many potential suppliers do you have? How unique is the product or service that they provide, and how expensive would it be to switch from one supplier to another? The more you have to choose from, the easier it will be to switch to a cheaper alternative. But the fewer suppliers there are, and the more you need their help, the stronger their position and their ability to charge more. That can impact your profit. We should always remember that most of the time, if the suppliers are few, their power is big. So finding balance and studying this is really important. Next is the buyer power or the bargaining power of customers. Here, you ask yourself how easy it is for buyers to drive your prices down. How many buyers are there and how big are their orders? How much would it cost them to switch from your products and services to those of a rival? Are your buyers strong enough to dictate terms to you? When you deal with only a few savvy customers, they have more power, but your power increases if you have many customers. This force is highly sensitive since most of the time consumers define how your business will deal with everything: the quality, the price, and the process of delivery. But the main reason we added this to Porter's five competitive forces is that consumers are easy to switch to other brands and businesses when they suits them more. So how you will keep them and how you will create the needed process to always choose you is a bit of a challenge. Next is the threat of substitution. This refers to the likelihood of your customers finding a different way of doing what you do. For example, A gym subscription and a working out app on your phone are not the same product, but of course, they keep you have the same results and you can replace a one with another. So how will you convince your customer to move their body extra and drag them to your gym instead of downloading an app with a simple click? And lastly is the threats of new entrants. Here, we are talking about how competitors are willing to join the marketplace, how you will deal with it when it happens, and of course, how you are planning to outgrow them all. Your position can be affected by people's ability to enter your market. So, think about how easily this could be done, how easy it is to get a foothold in your industry or market, how much would it cost, and how tightly is your sector regulated. If it takes little money or capital and effort to enter your market and compete effectively, or if you have little protection for your key technologies, then rivals can quickly enter your market and weaken your position. If you have strong and durable barriers to entry, then you can preserve a favorable position and take fair advantage of it. It is said that Porter's five forces analysis is really effective tool if used right. So it is also important for us to understand the forces that shape competition within an industry in order for us to adjust our strategy that suit our competitive environment and improve our potential profit. By thinking about how each force affects us, and by identifying its strength and direction, we can quickly assess our position. One important thing that Porter's five forces can help small businesses analyze the competition is that business owners or decision makers will then know what strategy to be used in order to attain their goals. Knowing who your competition is and how their products or services and marketing strategies affect you is critical to your survival. And of course, having basic knowledge of business strategy will have a direct influence on one's success. Porter's Five Forces is considered a macro tool in business analytics. It looks at the industry's economy as a whole, while a SWOT analysis or the strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats is a microanalytical tool focusing on a specific company's data and analysis. Porter theorized that understanding both the competitive forces at play and the overall industry structure are crucial for effective strategic decision making and developing a compelling competitive strategy for the future. So these strategies include competitive advantage, cost advantage, marketing dominance, diversification, price leadership, downsizing, and restructuring. And of course, the five forces analysis of Porter will help measure and monitor strategy effectiveness. Porter's five forces is important and it is also useful because it will enable entrepreneurs or businesses to adjust their strategy accordingly, and it will help the businesses take fair advantage of a strong position or improve a weak one and avoid taking wrong steps in the future. To sum it up, in order for this tool to work, the businesses or decision makers should be looking at the strength of five important forces. So, by thinking about how each force affects a business and by identifying its strength and direction, it can easily or it can quickly assess their position. It can make them look at what strategic changes they need to make to deliver long-term profit. Although some say that Porter's five competitive forces is not applicable because of the rise of technology or internet economy, cannot be considered as outdated. The basic idea that each company is operating in a network of buyers, suppliers, substitutes, new entrants, and competitors is still valid. So I hope that you have learned something from my report today, and thank you for taking time in listening and watching my presentation. And that would be all. Thank you and keep safe always.